Hi all, Rick here with a video about some of the best balls in Star Trek. Space balls. No, wait, that's a different thing. But honestly, there've been a lot of artificial spheres in Trek, from ships to stations, and even Starfleet took it upon itself to get in on the action at times, but they didn't commit to the bit. First off, we're going to look at one of the more commonly used orbs in Star Trek. The orbs of Wait a minute, that's not an orb. It's an hourglass in a box. Both shapes distinctly non-spherical. Pretender, false prophets. You know when YouTubers say that, excuse the voice, I've got a sore throat or I have a cold, etc. I always think to myself, I would not have known had you not brought it up. But I guess I'm bringing it up now, so excuse the croaking. Moving on. Let's start small scale, with the mind-altering spheres. This iconic device with its simple geometric shape allowed the user to manipulate the emotions and thoughts of a target to which it was attuned. These devices were constructed by an unknown species, likely the Ferengi, and potentially originally created for recreation. Resistant to natural telepathy, the Ferengi may have created these orbs as ways to project or experience events through technology instead, only to find that they could be used on others too, to influence their decisions and even evoke delusions. Needless to say, even the Ferengi banned these orbs rather promptly, but they ended up frequently surfacing on the black market. The Borg Sphere is an iconic vessel with its simple geometric shape. The Borg, already daring to push the boundaries of design with their cubes, finally moved on to the superior spheres. Well, actually, they're inferior in every way to the full cube, and act as patrol and scout vessels for the Borg Collective. Spheres can also be contained within a cube, which houses one as an emergency escape vessel, and they can be fitted with one of the Borg's greatest ace in the holes, a time travel device. Each sphere had around 11,000 drones on board, as well as facilities to house a queen. Now, the spheres themselves were as advanced as any other Borg vessel, with regenerative shielding, ablative hull armour, and a myriad of redundancies. However, they were little more brittle than a full cube. In several instances, we have seen unprotected spheres shredded by Federation vessels using their most potent arsenal. Quantum torpedoes from a Sovereign class and future-proof transphasic torpedoes from Voyager both destroyed unshielded vessels in seconds. The scale of the Borg spheres has varied slightly, from on-screen calculated 600 metres to a 445 behind the scenes, but it remains one of the most imposing and dangerous encounters that both the Romulans and Starfleet routinely have to contend with, outclassing most vessels except hardened battleships. In 2266, the USS Enterprise crossed over into territory of the First Federation, which I'm sure is a name that got very confusing in time. Intercepting their transgression was the iconic vessel with its simple geometric shape, the Visarius. The Visarius was the flagship of the First Federation, and captained by Balok. The ship itself was named after their home system, and entirely operable by the single occupant. Parts of its strange structure could break off and were in fact smaller auxiliary craft that could act as scouts. The technological level of the First Federation seemed to eclipse Starfleet's by magnitudes, not only in a literal scale. The ship was not impervious to scanners, but readings were inconsistent, with even something as simple as its scale merely underestimated by Spock at over a mile in diameter. However, the inverse was not true, with the Visarius able to complete a full scan of the Enterprise in seconds with enough detail to learn how to manipulate its systems remotely, bypassing any security measures. Warp capable, expanded stories mention that there are approximately 51 such ships in existence within their territory, and that they sometimes venture out on their own exploration missions. Fortunately, the First Federation seems amiable enough, and after a period of testing and confrontation to determine intent, a cultural exchange program was established between the two powers. We get the occasional references to them later on in the timeline, so unless anything changes, it seems they continued to remain hospitable to other equally amiable species, engaging in commerce while retaining their strict borders. What about the Delphic Expanse? Well, this region of space only existed from the mid-21st century to the mid-22nd, and was the product of a series of large space-bending generators that warp reality. These iconic structures of simple geometric design were created by a species that dwelt beyond our reality and were a faction of the Temporal Wars. Their goal was to destabilise the Federation's formation by convincing the Xindi that Earth was a major threat to them. Using a network of basically terraforming spheres for space, they were attempting to rewrite reality to support their biology. These networked spheres worked slowly to expand and modify their reach, forming the gradually expanding Delphic expanse that, if left unchecked, would have engulfed Andoria by the 26th century. The area immediately around them was far more unstable, with gravitational and literal reality destabilising effects preventing approach unless you knew a safe route. These generators worked in unison with 4 key spheres supporting the network. Eventually, however, they were collapsed by the Enterprise, and once the network was disrupted, their careful formatting of space unravelled, causing them to implode and become pulled back out of our reality, ending the entire expanse in 2154. Going to throw in a mention to the Xindi probe itself as another big world-raising orb. Now, this next sphere, globe thing is from a different universe. The Yorktown Starbase, built in 2263. Starfleet stations are usually saucers with spires and towers. However, it seems Starfleet of the alternate universe came to its senses and put aside the inferior design in favour of the iconic globe with a simplistic geometric design. However, this ball in space is far more hectic inside, with entwined roads and arms that are all encased in a large bubble. The station was not only a testbed for design, but served a political reason for existing. With the Federation in a time of expansion and new members joining, Yorktown was devised as an outpost in an area of space with several new joining worlds. To place a standard starbase, that is a planet-side facility, on a new world might send a message of favouritism out there, so instead the UFP opted to construct its own more neutral station in between. This made it one of the outermost Starfleet outposts, and a touchstone point for exploration vessels, and its motto was therefore, "Adventure begins here," as it existed on the very fringes of 23rd century Federation space. Being a Federation starbase, it served as a cultural hub for those looking for a sample of home or to experience something new. Alongside this, it had diplomatic suites for conferences and dignitaries and extensive recreational facilities for shore leave. However, it was also a working hub of Starfleet and UFP bureaucracy and a defensible installation should a threat approach. Yorktown was regarded as a marvel of ingenuity and intricate engineering from multiple worlds, built out of the same spirit of innovation that leads people to climb a mountain. Because we can. Finally, we've got probably the largest sphere we have seen, the Dyson Sphere. The Dyson Sphere is an iconic facility with a simple geometric shape, large enough to exert a strong gravitational well. At 200 million kilometres, it's the largest artificial structure encountered by Starfleet, with an interior surface area of 250 million M-class worlds. The civilization that built it is a mystery in canon, but the entire interior surface maintains a variety of atmospheres and varied terrain, from spanning cityscapes to verdant hills. The shell was made from a neutronium carbon alloy, a material which was nearly impervious to Federation phasers and many other weapons. Additionally, it was practically a sensor blind spot, with only the gravitational footprint detectable, explaining why it went so long being undiscovered. Unfortunately, the interior proved to be no longer suitable to life, with the host star throwing off too much radiation. However, it seems too great of a discovery to simply just abandon, which is why I love to see it being revisited in Apocrypha. Star Trek Online reveals that the Federation did indeed maintain science vessels at it, continuing to study this incredible station, and radiation-proof facilities allowed for greater exploration and away teams over the following decades. Its exploration is likely to be a generational affair with the sheer scale of it. Additional details included that it was powered by contained omega molecules, and that it had the power to fold space and relocate if needed. Internally too, it could contain a gateway system linked to other Dyson spheres, and that they were also constructed by the same species we see in Schisms, themselves a vassal species to the ancient Iconians. So, there we go, my top 6 balls of Star Trek or something similar. Happy fun April Fool's Day to you all, and I hope I at least got a chuckle from me. I've been Rick, and now I'm going to go get a herbal tea. Thanks again, and goodbye.